Terminal List universe is back with another intense military thriller, and this time, the focus shifts to Ben Edwards. Prime Video has released the Terminal List Sea Dark Wolf, a prequel series that finally gives us an inside look at how Edwards went from being a Navy SEAL to the man we knew in the Terminal List. Episode 1, titled Inherent Resolve, wastes no time showing us the brutal, complicated, and heartbreaking events that shaped his life. But instead of throwing us right into explosive nonstop action, the episode takes a slower, more serious approach, layering military accuracy with emotional depth and a creeping sense of tragedy. The very first thing you notice about this episode is how serious the tone is. Right from the start, the show leans hard into its military reverence. Everything about Episode 1 feels like a love letter to the U.S. Armed Forces, especially the Navy SEALs. The episode highlights correct procedures, careful attention to detail, and the bond soldiers share not only with each other but also with the locals they're trying to protect. It's respectful, detailed, and almost documentary, like at times. But the downside, it's so focused on realism that the premiere doesn't exactly come bursting out of the gates with explosive excitement. Instead, it takes its time building tension, laying out all the pieces before delivering the gut punch moments that really set the stage for Edward's dark journey. The story begins in 2015, during Operation Inherent Resolve, the U.S. mission to train the Iraqi Security Forces ISF to take back control from ISIS in Mosul. This is the core backdrop for the entire season. And unlike the Terminal List, where Chris Pratt's James Reece was front and center, here he plays a supporting role. This is Ben Edwards' story through and through. From the very first scenes, the show makes it clear that this mission and the relationships Edwards builds during it are going to change him forever. The episode opens with a haunting funeral montage, setting a dark and emotional tone. Then it jumps back 7 years earlier to a hostage exchange that quickly goes wrong. From that moment, you just know things are going to spiral. Maulers, there's already tension between the Navy SEALs on the ground and the CIA operatives, who are clearly playing their own game. The main terrorist threat is Al-Jabouri, a shadowy figure who everyone seems to hate, but who always slips away at just the right moment. It's obvious that his story is going to tie directly into whatever secrets the CIA is hiding. What stands out in this episode isn't fast-paced action, but the small, personal details. Edwards and his fellow SEALs have a surprisingly close relationship with the ISF. Edwards, in particular, bonds with a soldier named Darren Amiri, a man who has already suffered greatly in the war. Darren lost a leg but still re-enlisted to protect his family. From the second he appears on screen, hobbling along but determined, it feels like a tragic setup. The moment Edwards meets his kids and forms a bond with them, you just know the story is going to end in heartbreak. And that heartbreak comes fast. While the SEALs are focused on Al-Jabouri, another villain, Masoud Danawi, steps into the spotlight. His cruel plan directly targets Duran. The most shocking moment of Episode 1 comes when it's revealed that a bomb has been hidden inside Duran's prosthetic leg. He is forced into a situation where he has no choice but to sacrifice himself, dying against his will in an attack that kills several soldiers. It's brutal, emotional, and deeply unfair. Exactly the kind of tragedy that would scar anyone for life. The plan, as it turns out, came from Al-Jabouri himself. He has a chilling strategy of forcing people into suicide missions by threatening their families. But here's where things take an even darker turn. Al-Jabouri isn't supposed to even be operating in Iraq anymore. That raises huge questions for Edwards. How is this man still active? The horrifying answer comes quickly. The CIA has been protecting him as an asset, letting him live freely in exchange for intelligence. That revelation devastates Edwards. Innocent people, including Darren and U.S. soldiers, paid the price for this shady deal, and the realization eats away at him. It's the perfect setup for Edwards' inner conflict. Here's a man who believes in brotherhood, sacrifice, and protecting the innocent, suddenly confronted with the reality that his own government is willing to compromise all of that for political convenience. It's not just betrayal. It's a moral wound that won't heal. And this is where the show really begins to shape his future. Edwards doesn't let it go. He and James Reece set out on a mission to capture Al-Jabouri. The CIA's plan is simple: snatch him, let him go again, and expose him as an informant so ISIS will deal with him. But once Edwards comes face to face with Al-Jabouri, his rage takes over. The terrorist smirks, smug and untouchable, and Edwards can't stomach it. Instead of sticking to the plan, he executes Al-Jabouri on the spot. It's a bold, reckless move, one that can't easily be explained away. Reece and another operative named Hastings agree to back him up, framing the whole thing as self-defense. But deep down, everyone knows what really happened. Edwards didn't just kill a terrorist. He killed a CIA asset, destroyed an operation, and marked himself as a man who can no longer play by the rules. And that is where episode 1 leaves us, at the beginning of his slow, inevitable descent into the book's morally gray world we saw him in during the terminal list. What makes episode 1 both gripping and frustrating is its pacing. On the one hand, fans of military shows will love the authenticity, the careful recreation of in-country operations, the tactical detail, the banter between soldiers. It all feels real. On the other hand, the episode moves slowly, layering in conversations about brotherhood and sacrifice rather than non-stop action. It feels familiar, even cliched at times, but the execution makes it work. By the end of episode 1, it's crystal clear what Dark Wolf is going for. It's not about quick thrills. It's about showing the events that broke Ben Edwards, piece by piece, until he became the man we later met. The emotional weight of Darren's death, the revelation of CIA betrayal, and Edwards' fateful decision to execute Al-Jabouri all combined to set up a dark, character-driven story. This isn't just another military shootout show. It's a story about trust, betrayal, and the personal cost of war. And that's why this episode hits differently. Instead of showing a hero charging into battle, it shows a good man being broken by a system that doesn't value loyalty the way he does. For fans of the Terminal List, it's a fascinating deep dive into Edwards' past. For new viewers, it's a slow but powerful introduction to a world where morality is blurry and trust is dangerous. Episode 1 may not be packed with explosions, but it leaves you shaken in a different way, because you can already see the cracks forming, and you know things are only going to get worse. Over the rest of the season, it seems clear that Edwards will continue to spiral, making choices that push him further from the system and closer to the rogue figure we met before. But episode 1 sets that foundation in a careful, deliberate way. It shows us not only the battlefield, but also the human cost. And And by the time the credits roll, you're left with one clear thought: D. Ben Edwards' story is going to be tragic, messy, and impossible to look away from.